Well, welcome Kim Aune, Senior Vice President with Shea. Shea is a local firm, a local design firm that brings together experts in architecture, interior design, graphic, and brand design. Did I get all those correct, Kim?
Yes, you did. Great job.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Tell me a little bit about your history at Shea and where do you fit in those categories described?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting Shea and myself to be on your wonderful podcast. I'm really excited to be here. So my history at Shea, going on 20 years, has really been driven around a passion for client service and being the best kind of partner we can for our clients. And then really translating that into the strategic phase of our projects with our teams, developing that strong strategy, the basis, the goals. That's the foundation for our amazing design teams to take over. So really engaging our clients and getting the project launched off is where kind of my focus is in the process.
Awesome. In 20 years, that is amazing.
Not quite. Okay. But I say less than 20, I guess. And once it's more than 20, I think you don't say that. You just say about 20.
Fair
you
enough.
Just get older and older.
Older and wiser.
Yes, wiser.
Well, awesome. I think today I want to preface that today on our podcast we're going to talk about restaurant design specifically and hospitality. And Shea has really set the trend or has been the design firm to go to locally here for restaurants, and maybe locally and nationally?
Yeah,
Do you play in both?
Definitely.
Okay.
We worked in 33 states last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And given the climate of last year, which we'll touch on a little bit, that's amazing. So, but I'm curious to know, how did Shea become that subject matter expert in restaurant and hospitality? How did that evolve?
Well, David Shea, he always had really a passion for developing consumer experiences. So things that really were closely touched consumers. And so restaurant and dining is that, on top of a passion for restaurants, a passion for food. And then that really rolled into our first restaurant here in Minneapolis many years ago was Leon Chin.
Okay, funny.
Yeah.
And was that a chain at that time, or was
No, it developed into the chain, but it really grew from there. And restaurants and hospitality, it's just a really fun industry. All of the projects are so unique, and the breadth. That said, we love our workplace projects. We love our retail projects. I think we're most known for a restaurant because people love eating out and dining and gathering, and it's social. And so I think we tend to be more known for it as well.
People love going out to eat. They love that experience. So when talking about restaurant and hospitality design and how it's evolved, I want to talk about how Shea has created spaces that people really want to spend time in, because you guys have basically built out designed some of our local restaurant staples and trendy hotspots. So anywhere from Spoon and Stable, Yum, The Hilltop, Cove, and Demi, just to name a few. So these are all places we know and love. Why do they work?
Well, each of those opportunities started out with a unique vision and a guest experience. Creating a hospitality experience isn't just a layout with decor, but it starts with the basis of a business and a brand. I would say every one of those restaurants and more, really every inch of the space delivers on that guest experience. Kind of a no bad seat in the house approach, and that's what we excel at, is really how do you create the best consumer experience at every touch point in the process for your guest.
So how much are you allowing the restaurant owner, how much of their input are you taking in? What does that look like working with them? Is it side by side, or is it they tell you just a few things about themselves and you run with it? What does that look like?
We're very collaborative. The best end result requires that collaboration. I mean, our clients come to us with different levels of a vision, Sometimes it's really basic, and we have to explore where that vision can go. But sometimes it's a lot more focused. I always say that it's your vision and it's your business, and when we're done, it's yours, right? But you don't have the expertise and the knowledge that we have to take your vision and turn it into a space that works, that functions, that meets all the needs of the guests, of the front of house, of the back of house, that meets codes and is constructible, and we can do it on a budget. And so we layer in our expertise with our client's vision.
Okay. You just said budget, and I have to chime in on that. Just from our construction experience working together, the budget, I feel like in most restaurant experiences, when you're designing for a restaurant to a restaurant owner, would you say they're usually shocked at the price, or do you think depending on their experience, they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, you hit it. It depends on the experience. For many entrepreneurs that have a dream and a vision, budget is one of the biggest subjects and constraints. Less so, it's a constraint in every project. I would say working with nationals, they just know because they do so many projects, but it doesn't mean that it's not a constraint. And that's, budget really relates closely to kind of our philosophy of projects is, that basis. We talk about budget on day one, and it's constantly, as we are designing a space, we're trying to dial in. We can do that to a level because of our extensive expertise, but it's partnerships with like Griner early on in the process who can really bring another level of depth to budgeting.
Yeah.
And doing that in the design process to maintain design intent and maintain a sense of the budget, it takes that partnership. And I think that's why one of our favorite things of working with Griner is you guys are willing to do that and step in and be a part of that process, knowing that it's going to make your jobs easier when we get to the end and initiating construction.
I will give Tony kudos for that.
Yes.
And he is a wealth of knowledge, and it does take a certain finesse as a project manager to work in that restaurant industry. There's just added layers, right?
Yes.
Of whether it's inspections and kitchen design.
Kitchens, bars, so many details, yeah.
He seems to thrive on it, though. I think he really enjoys it, as I'm sure you can see. So going back a little bit about some of your work here locally, and I guess and nationally, how do you stay fresh and create a new experience with all of your clients' restaurants? Is that tough?
It is, but I'm really proud of the way we do it. One thing I love is like scrolling through our website, or if I'm flipping through case studies, every project is so unique and different. And I say, like, we do not have a Shea look. When we're designing, we want to make spaces that appeal to a wide variety of customers, but that feeling and that vibe is different, say, from Yum to Kaluna. Our designers are phenomenal at really designing through the lens of the strategy and the concept. I think so much so that I really feel like it would be hard to come to the same recommendation more than once. But yeah, I mean, at Shea, it's about setting clients up for success and really delivering a space and an experience that's unique to them and their business.
I think, so I love the Minneapolis St. Paul magazine. They have restaurants and local, it's just a beautiful display of all the things that Minnesota has to offer. And I think Kaluna was on there because is the chef female? Do I have that right?
Yes, local female chef.
Yes, and I think in her household, because I think they did a spread of her at her home, and she had lots of plants. And I feel like that might have carried over into Kaluna. Is there lots of foliage in that space, or am I mistaken?
Yes, it is a very much kind of escape, fresh, inspired by Southeast Asia and travel. And a little bit of the tropics, definitely kind of a vacation getaway vibe, but just and amazing food. Yes.
I need to go. But I think what's cool about that is that your team really captured the chef, her personality, and I bet she was very pleased with the
Yes,
end result.
this is our second restaurant with Anne, and this, I would say, more so than Lat 14. This is my personal opinion. It might not be true, but I think embodies Anne as a person really, really well, and even more strongly than her other concepts. Anne had a very strong vision when she came to us, but again, it was our expertise that really helped refine that and turn that into a really amazing space.
That's so awesome. And that was a brand new space. So now I want to talk a little bit about an example of an existing space. And we did exchange some notes about this, but I thought it was fascinating because Hilltop in Edina, which I think most people are aware of, or at least those in commercial real estate who do a lot of networking and often find themselves there. And that was an existing space with existing clientele, which I think would be really difficult to design and make sure that that existing clientele still loved it, and yet get new clientele to that. So how did that go? Was that a success? And just tell me a little bit more about that project and the process.
Yes. I think Hilltop was a wild success. Starting with the foundation of a long-standing family-owned business that was beloved by the community. And thinking about, in this reinvention, how do we maintain what we've built, and then how do we appeal to the next generation? And it was kind of a change in the leadership, from father to son to Brett. And so we had the perspective of long-term ownership, and then we had the next generation with Brett, and it came together beautifully. We had the brand identity refreshed, really kind of make it more contemporary and lighter. The space, they had a patio that converted to multiple seasons before many people. So that was there. We kind of focused on the front of house, creating a really compelling bar experience, but keeping that dining forward experience that all Hilltop or Fifth Avenue always was. For me, the summary is that it's a comfortable everyday space. So it's a place that people want to go to time after time. And yes, the regulars, while I think a lot of them got really nervous and turned their nose up at change, have loved it. They embrace it. And the next generation is there. So huge success, still beloved, and a very stronghold of that neighborhood in Edina.
Oh, for sure. And there is a bar that's very prominent, but at the same time, you feel like if you're there for breakfast and coffee, you don't feel like you have to have a Bloody Mary, but the option is there.
And that was probably the biggest change. And the biggest kind of scary thing is we're dining forward. We are booths, and we are, comfort. And we're not this slam and bar kind of big loud atmosphere. And I think it's a perfect balance the way it came together.
I think so too, because I hear people, they do frequent there for happy hours to do their networking, and it's fine, but it doesn't turn into some sort of club scene or anything like that.
No, you've got people, you've got that generation of people networking for happy hours, and then you have the early bird diners that have been going there for 30 years, and they both coexist happily. It's great.
Now that's good design. That's pretty amazing. Awesome. Well, congrats to you guys on that success. I will still continue to go there. I have continued to go there, and I will. Moving forward, same with Yum, but we'll talk about that later, or on our next episode. So these past few years have been very challenging for the restaurant industry. Can you comment on what some of your conversations were like with your restaurant and hospitality clients?
Yeah, for the last few years, we've really been a resource to our clients. For the short term, really being thoughtful on how they can evolve their space without being kind of knee-jerk reactions. But we also worked with them to avoid making long-term changes that wouldn't work in the long term. To keep their head up and to keep focused on what's next and where we're going and how are we going to be successful again for the duration, not just for the short knee-jerk constant change and volatility that was going on for the last couple of years.
So what is an example of that, like an immediate need? I felt like were the plastic shields and I mean, which was temporary, right? Or that you could put in and easily take away. Is there anything else that you can think of that's a really interesting point of what they maybe wanted to do, a knee-jerk reaction, and you're like, hold on, guys, here, let's just take a step back. Do you have an example of that?
Yeah. I mean, there was, so the short-term, the safety precautions came into play, but we didn't get bogged down there. Again, knowing that it was a little bit more temporal, keeping our eye on the long term. We use the term smart pivots, I think probably in some of our blogs and some of our communications that we put out there. Starting with takeout and delivery, because that was an immediate an additional or enhanced revenue stream when people were shut down. One thing was adding in market spaces and adding in new revenue streams with retail, and adding in, in addition to takeout, adding in like retail items that could go with that. Creating flexibility in dining spaces. That's a rule of thumb for us all the time, but it became even more so. And then the addition of outdoor space, really to expand seating capacity, allow people to spread out, figure out how to get those to operate, further into each season. And creativity with sidewalks and parking spaces. And all of these things were, we were doing takeout windows, and we were doing markets, and we were doing, multi-season patios before the pandemic. But the pandemic really brought it to the forefront and made it wasn't optional anymore. People had to engage to be able to continue to operate.
Us Minnesotans were able to take on those patios. Like, we wanted to be at the restaurants. We wanted to be together. So I think those outdoor spaces are probably here to stay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The ones that were in the bubble, I didn't always understand, because that didn't seem, it didn't seem safe at the time of what we were experiencing during COVID. I'm like, wait, you put us all in this dome? However, I still think that they're very cool, and I think will work as we continue to, just kind of a fun experience in Minnesota.
Very novel, yes.
Yeah.
I haven't actually dined in one, I've been in them, so I can't say, but.
Yeah, you gave it a whirl.
I don't know, a glass rooftop is probably more my thing.
I can get on board with that too. But Ed, I think it allows for some of these restaurants that I frequent that maybe have a smaller space or smaller capacity, if they're able to use their parking lot as additional seating, will inspectors allow that? Will that be able to continue so they can host more diners, or is that going to change?
I think that was a temporary thing. I think it's less maybe more so landlords allowing people to utilize parking spaces and the jurisdiction. But yes, we have clients that had parking lot patios. And it is what helped keep them alive. But that mentality of creating those flexible outdoor dining spaces.
Yeah. And then the takeout and delivery. How will that affect? I mean, it can only affect restaurants for the better, I would think, more business opportunity. However, I'd be curious what you have to say about that, and about how that's going to affect the design of these restaurants too.
Yeah, I mean, takeout areas and staging has notoriously been an afterthought in restaurants for many years, and that's not really an option anymore. So I think really it's about being thoughtful in how those spaces come together, and really trying to have them integrated and keeping with the space. It has to be functional for the people engaging in the takeout and carryout, but then also as we're coming back and dining in person, it can't kind of impede that experience for the dine-in customer.
Yeah, because I've seen, in my experience, when I've been sitting at the bar at a local restaurant, and then there's the delivery and takeout, the DoorDash people come in, and the food gets left like on the bar because there's no designated space for it. And so they're coming in and out constantly, finding their food, finding the ticket. And it kind of put a damper on my experience a little bit. There was just someone always there. So I'll be interested to see how that evolves. And
it's a difficult one to take up space for storing bags, but yes, it's something that I think it's been really, people have gotten comfortable with it, and they'll still come back and dine in, but it's like, oh well, I'm used to Wednesday nights we do our takeout from wherever, and it's going to stick for a while.
Yeah. It's fun to hang out in your pajamas and
Yeah.
eat at home. I like that. And the wine's cheaper at home, too.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to drive anywhere. Anyway. All right. I want to talk a little bit about labor shortage and wondering how in the restaurant industry we are dealing with labor shortage right now. Does that affect design? Do we add more technology into the design? What are you seeing there?
Well, unfortunately, we are seeing that it seems like it's going to be not as short term as we had hoped. So first, it's designing spaces that can operate with less people. Chefs are delivering food, and bartenders are tending bar, and they're tending tables. The host is frankly an elevated position now. They're like the ultimate multitasker of the front of house that play a lot bigger role in efficient operations. It's that making spaces that are easy for operators to adapt and multitask. Seating, and when still sticking by, like I said, that kind of rule of thumb for us is this creations of zones and flexibility, so that people can ramp up and they can scale back, not only for managing proximity, but also, creating good energy zones, on a quiet night in a restaurant. I think that philosophy is a very big piece of it. Technology in the hospitality industry, it's evolving, it's improving, it's going to maintain, especially in fast casual. I think there's a lot of learning over the last couple of years, and hopefully that learning is turning into kind of less cumbersome experiences when we're engaging with technology. But definitely, like in many full serve, technology is maybe less, guest forward technology is maybe less prominent, but it's still going to be there to assist, especially in fast casual.
Yeah.
I think kitchens, you had mentioned or had said, we're always working to create kind of efficient kitchens, working with the chefs and the owners. And I don't think kitchen design has really changed. It's still that balance of, really making it an efficient space, but then making sure that it's, able to function for the menu and serve the dining in guests as well as the takeout guests. Because, you can get a push at dinner that is twice the size it used to be, because it's all the people dining in and all the people dining at home.
Yes. Yep.
So kitchen design is still important, but no major shifts there other than really efficiency.
Yeah, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. So
we're at 25 minutes.
Oh wow, Kim, we could go all day. This is awesome. I feel like there's really good stuff for these guys to edit. So I'm gonna go to. I'm going to jump to some design advice, because I feel like we've wrapped up we've talked about the design, how design has changed. So for those that maybe need your services, but aren't quite sure, that they don't realize they need your services yet. So what's some design advice that you can give them who may not have the means to hire a savvy group like Shea?
Well, I would start with, you're building a business and a brand. You're not selecting tables and chairs. It's so much more than design from the beginning. It's the right space, the right infrastructure, the right lease, developing a budget, having appropriate financing that meets your pro forma. That's the way we approach projects. That's where we always start. So it's laying that foundation for the business and the brand to be developed, and then from there, it's designing the space in all dimensions, all 3D, to deliver upon that pro forma, those business goals, and the brand.
That's interesting. So you guys will guide a new restaurant owner through a pro forma and all of those details.
We don't do the pro forma for them, but we will get involved in helping review and guide that. It's definitely how the pro forma ties into the, at least the overall budget for sure. Looking forward, and there's some quick math on what revenue has to be with your investment that we can do to know, like, well, for this space, this is, if you invest X, you need to be generating this much revenue, in 1 year. And yeah, we get involved in that because at the end of the day, our clients' success is our success. It's not about the pattern on the wall covering and the decor. It's about them operating a successful business in the shell of the space that we've helped them create. And so if we don't start with that, kind of more the business basis, we're not setting them up for success.
Yeah. Oh, what a great! Anyone would be lucky to have you guys work with them. So you should consider it for sure, because you're right. Setting them up for success is key. And I think sometimes I don't want to offend restaurant owners. This is my problem with the podcast, is I always edit myself because I'm afraid I'm going to offend someone. But like, I just don't think that they're wanting to serve food and create beautiful, like, they're artists.
Yes,
right?
That is their passion.
Yeah, that's their passion. So sometimes that business side, they need help. Not all of them, but they need help with that. And for you guys to be able to participate in that and help them be successful is really cool. So what does the future look like for the restaurant industry? Will Shea be busy, and will restaurant owners be busy?
Yes. Well, restaurateurs, kind of like the last topic, have hospitality in their blood. They have a vision and optimism for the future in the industry.
Yeah.
So what that means, they're out looking at what's next. What are the next new concepts? What is the next new space? What is next for their existing space? Consumers are eager to get out. And so, the prognosis is looking good.
Yeah.
What does that translate to for us? We're busy right now, and projections look good through next year, and we're super excited.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that. I'm very happy to hear that. Then along with that, any new hot local spots that you can name drop?
Oh, yes, always, yes. Well, of course, Yum St. Paul, a collaboration with Griner. Super exciting to bring that respected and longstanding brand across the river. Partnering with Patty and Robbie after the first Yum and the second Yum to, again, what's next for us? What's the next version of Yum? And really seeing it come to life just beautifully in a super vibrant neighborhood space in St. Paul. Really.
Stay tuned, because we're going to talk to Patty next, and I can't wait. I'm thrilled to have her on. But yes, agreed.
Yes, Kaluna, again, one of the hottest reservations in town, and that getaway vacation-esque experience. Who doesn't need that right now here in Minnesota?
Do you get preferential treatment as working at Shea and along with these design, that you can get a reservation, or does it not work that way?
I don't know if it's preferential treatment. We just know the secrets.
Okay, good. Enough said.
Go to Kaluna early.
Okay.
And sit at the bar. And then get a reservation too, so you can have the full experience.
I love it.
Smack Shack. Coming out to the suburbs in Bloomington, bringing lobster and seafood boils out to the masses, doing really well. It's a great experience. Hazelwood, we're excited about their Woodbury location, the fourth location, another really strong local brand. It's great to see them take a hold kind of throughout the Twin Cities. And neighborhood spots, some really maybe kind of lower on the radar. Petit Leon, Farmers Market and Bar, Green Mill, St. Paul, a great reinvention there. They have a fabulous little market and takeout area. It's great. Our passion, we love our local, entrepreneur, chef-driven restaurants. And we love being involved in them as much as our national work that takes us all over. We're just, always pleased to be able to be a part of the hot spots.
Well, so fun to hear. I'm hoping to visit some of them soon. So thank you for those. And in summary, what we learned today is that good design, good restaurant design is not by accident. We frequent these restaurants like Spoon and Stable and Cove and Yum because we love them. So clearly you're a collaborative firm, which is why you do so well in this market and why we've been good partners.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Kim, for your time, and have a wonderful day. Please join us again.
Yes. Thank you so much, Heather.